Okay everyone, here's the deal today. Blizzard are running an experiment. If this experiment pays off, at least in their terms, it will change World of Warcraft patches, perhaps forever. That seems like a big claim, but well, there's a reason why people are kind of pissed right now. You've probably seen the news then. Patch 11.1.5 will launch on April 22nd, as we've all expected, but something's not quite right. Blizzard have decided this time to quite literally piss everyone off, and to do that by making patch day dead. Yeah, patch day isn't really a thing as much. So here's their post. April 22nd, Nightfall and the new cooldown manager. April 22nd to May 20th, the Winds of Mysterious Fortune, a new leveling event to get your alts, quote, battle ready. And then, May 20th, Horrific Visions Revisited. Yes, May 20th. That's a whole month from patch launch, until we get one of the main advertised features, and I dare say the one that most people are properly excited about. What we're seeing then is Blizzard's first proper staggered patch launch. First, I'll talk about what it actually means for you. Do you know what's really annoying though? Something that happened to me recently, your telecom provider being hacked. That happened to BT, that exposed the data of my partner and my family. Not a fan of that, and that's why I use today's sponsor Incogni, because they are our way to fight back, and to do so real easily. So here's how things work. Whenever data leaks, data brokers harvest that data up and then they sell it on. And well, just about anyone can end up buying that. So if you ever wonder how spam callers get your number, it's often by that. And Incogni solves the problem by automating the legal work that you would otherwise have to do to get taken down. And if you join at incogni.com/Bellular Warcraft, you get 60% off an annual plan. So here's how it works. It's so easy. You enter your info and that's it. They do the rest. You have a legal right to get your data taken down, but that takes hours and it's not permanent. Incogni automatically scans brokers, sends takedown requests, and it adds you to suppression lists. It does that all automatically, and then it consistently rescans so your data is kept down. Here's my dashboard. It goes up every month. 158 takedowns sent, 4 are in progress, 154 completed, and I'm on 21 suppression lists, which is peace of mind. And over at incogni.com/Bellular Warcraft, you get 60% off an annual plan, so check them out using my link. If you're still subbed, it means that day one of the patch is going to feel pretty bad actually. Okay, the things that are coming are cool, right? The cooldown manager is mostly awesome, but the only content to sink your teeth into will be Nightfall. And don't get me wrong, Nightfall is pretty cool. It's got a faction that I love, it's a big old world event, lots of amazing purple Arathi gear to farm out, actually really cool cosmetics, but in many ways, yes, it's world content, it's transmog, it's renown, it's collectibles, and of course a bit of catch-up, which I will do, but that won't be big to everyone. Now, of course, there's also then the leveling event called the Winds of Mysterious Fortune. Here's how that works, and honestly, it is kind of cool. So it's a buff that will give you triple renown for Dragonflight factions and double renown for everything in this expansion except for Undermine, plus 20% XP potions and random drops, and those random drops can actually give you 10% XP pots. So, experience potions are back in the game. That's pretty cool. If you want to mop up all of your renowns, it will be easy as hell. And of course, that'll mean your new characters will be swimming in renown rewards, which is real handy for your alts. That's all nice, but basically, unless you want to level alts, farm out an event, or remake your UI with the new cooldown manager, this patch on patch day adds basically nothing. No new sort of air quotes real gameplay like the Visions would offer, no class changes, which is a bit strange. Maybe we should expect those in the 0.7 patch. Maybe Blizzard will wait until 11.2. It's hard to say, and Blizzard don't seem to have a set time figured out, so we're a little bit in the dark right now. Anyway, the thing here is that despite this actually being a big patch, as far as minor patches go, and the game overall being in a really good place, the patch day itself could turn out to be a fairly massive disappointment. First impressions matter, especially to returning players, and I think this is a risky strategy. You'll log in, do Nightfall once or twice, and then you'll just go back to doing whatever you had already been doing, back to the same old weeklies. The biggest and best feature is quite simply just not there yet. And this gives us a feel for Blizzard's strategy. So Nightfall feels like it follows on from the main campaign, right? You're going back to Hallowfall, doing Hallowfall things, and the more hardcore players, yes, will laugh at how simple and easy that world content is, but it does actually nail the whole vibe of being part of the Arathi army, and that is something that people kind of loved. You'll have a huge boost to renowns that you've missed, you'll have an XP boost for your alts or whatever, so if this is your first time playing the expansion or you're returning, it pretty much is perfect. So strategically, I think that's obviously Blizzard's goal. Now, when you think about this season itself, I mean, the vibes aren't for everyone. Not everyone likes goblins, but the raid is actually, I think, kind of fantastic. I think it's really fun. Mythic Plus is starting to pop off, and that does mean that now is a fairly good time to focus on getting people back into the game so they can play one of the best seasons the game has had in a long time. And if Blizzard are going to do that, maybe it's smart to give them a month to get used to, the icon vomit of Dornagol before Blizzard goes and adds another feature with horrific visions. I mean, are they worried of just overwhelming people? Not exactly sure. Looking at it this way, things kind of add up. Blizzard knows that we're playing the seasonal content just fine, and plus numbers show the season's kind of sticky, so they basically think we'll survive for at least, another few weeks of Curve or Keystone Hero, whatever we're doing. Then, we know that patch 11.1.7 is being tested right now in the Blizzard servers, and that means we'll almost certainly see a PTR build right around this patch day, which will keep the news cycle going. And that likely means Blizzard thinks they can spend a little bit of time working on bringing lapsed players back. Probably smart. That's probably their overall strategy. Though, obviously, knowing that's not going to make you feel any better. So, what are they doing and what can they do to fix it? Funnily enough, this is where the other MMO comes in, FF14. It does this, and Blizzard could actually learn something. Their patch 7.2 released earlier this month, but it's actually releasing in 3 stages. 7.2 brings the MSQ, the main new raids, and big systems changes. 7.2.1, 3 weeks after, had some minor stuff that usually is what Blizzard would handle for hot fixes and live tuning updates. And then 7.2.5 is going to be about a month after that, and that's going to bring a fairly huge amount of non-raid content to the game. And you can kind of see some similarities here. It's kind of the same thing. It's a staggered patch launch, but the FF version is at least a little bit easier to understand. Now, it is a bit frustrating to FF players who obviously will want their content right away, but for them, it's kind of expected. Blizzard, though, are pulling this month-long time gating on us for the very first time. That's our first big difference, but there's actually a second, and this is the one that Blizzard tends to mess up. It's the marketing, the branding, the psychology. To be literal, it's the patch numbers. Blizzard are giving us a patch full of content, and then they're locking that content away. Blizzard could, in theory, switch that content on at any time. We literally know that. It's in the build. We've played it in PTR. And it's not just us who do this for a living that feel that way. You see, once this patch launches, anyone can see rewards and achievements that are from Horrific Visions, but they won't be able to earn them because they haven't been turned on yet. Now, with how Blizzard actually develops these patches, especially for testing, this isn't going to change anytime soon, like actually getting fully staggered patch development, but if Blizzard were being smart, they could perhaps update the build numbers or find some way to make the date feel special or interesting instead of just completely arbitrary. I mean, remember the time gate that they did with the Kirin Tor quest, where we just saw a bar over Khadgar's head counting down? I get how Blizzard thought it was probably good to tell us something would be there, but it felt so very arbitrary. Why is there a bar above Khadgar's head? So Blizzard, if you're committed to this strategy, you've got to do things like maybe a very short quest line that sets up a reason why we have got to wait. Just a little bit of story context to connect the dots. Maybe a quest with the Bronze or the Infinite Dragons investigating the Black Empire so that at least on patch day, people have an experiential sense that something will be coming. Just small touches like that would take the edge off, because otherwise, it is a bit like being told that our content is ready, but we just can't have it. And that, I think, is a mistake. By now, you're probably thinking the same thing many people are, that this is Blizzard trying to delay a patch and just get away with it, right? That they can promise us things in a patch and then ship the patch even if some of the features aren't ready. A bit like Apple Intelligence at an iPhone 16. I actually don't think that's the case. At least it's not the case this time. That's because Horrific Visions do not need any serious work, at least based on our PTR testing, and Duos was always going to be a world event planned for later, like we're used to getting with, say, the updates to holidays. Blizzard needs the content to be at least mostly ready for the build to go live, and looking at the PTR build, yeah, it does actually look ready. So I don't think this is Blizzard buying time. I don't think this is them saying, oh shit, Visions aren't ready, we need to delay them, let's just do a delay of a month. No, I don't think it's that. I think their goal is to stagger content. I think they actually want something very, very specific. And it may have a little thing to do with WoW's billing cycle. They want to make sure something new happens every single month of Modern WoW and not just the trading post. And we've actually seen this happen with how they pace out news updates, especially, right, the player housing articles. Those were very curious. They were not forced to do a player housing article, but they did. They obviously wanted to keep the news cycle going. Plus, we've already got 8-week patches, so if Blizzard could split patches up into 2 release chunks, that would be new Modern WoW every single month. Right? You'll always have a reason, even if it's just a minor one, to keep an active sub, to keep playing. And in a way, I think that is fair enough. That's a good strategy, right? If you're running a monthly sub MMO. But they need to make it feel right by us in order for it to work. And at least right now, people's reaction to this news does suggest it's not working. Okay, let's make this feel real. If I were you, this is basically what I would expect from World of Warcraft going forward, and bear in mind a massive change that has happened with Blizzard. They have completely changed how they make World of Warcraft. Dragonflight was a transitionary period, War Within is basically the start. Whenever Chris Metzen returned to Blizzard, right, they were 8 months into the War Within's production. That meant that the likes of Undermine were actually fully locked in as bits of content being made by the team. It's only really now moving through the future that we see World Soul Saga, and World Soul Saga seems to have with it a little bit of an updated way of doing content. So, expect monthly to be the new normal going forward, but only if this experiment works, and perhaps only for 0.5 patches. We already see lots of backlash every time a major patch drops and the season starts 1 week later, or something is behind a renown. Launching a major patch but then holding seasonal content back even more would probably be a step too far, especially when the new zone, raid, and dungeon are supposed to be things that last for months. This, though, feels like a way to stretch out a 0.5 patch. What they're doing here with a 0.5 very much is mid-cycle customer churn prevention and, retention measures, right? We'll just have to see if it works. And there is a chance the backlash will be even stronger this time around because Horrific Visions are the patch's major content feature. The roadmap led us to expect them to be there on patch day. How do you feel about that? I mean, really, I don't feel too good about it. It does feel like the deal, the expectations have just been changed right before the thing was going to happen. I basically think Blizzard have put a landmine in front of them and then merrily hopped on top of it. I get their new strategy, but I don't think this is the right way to do it. I just wish that I could see some of the super casual player metrics. It could very much be that as much as all of us who talk about WoW and really live it and breathe it are angry, maybe there is a vast legion of casual people who don't check the news who will just produce vastly better retention numbers because of a strategy like this. Without seeing those numbers, it's impossible to tell. Hey, if you want to leak those numbers, you know where to find me. Okay. Let me know what you think about this one. And if you want to finish this one off with a little touch of madness, well, guess what? Gallywix's death, Chris Metzen's return to Blizzard, the Shadowlands, the end of this expansion, and midnight. That's a bunch of words, but I tied them all together and I did it in this video. I think it's really quite a banger. People really seem to have enjoyed it, so check it out next.